civilizations. We'll start with the Olmec. They lived in the Gulf of Mexico area from about 1200 to 400 BCE. They obviously didn't live in the water. The Olmec are most famous for their giant heads. They produced a lot of major works of art. They have really good architecture, sculpture, and pottery, but they're most known for giant heads and the pyramid and La Venta. The Olmec built aqueducts. They grew maize, squash, beans, and tomatoes. Aqueducts are waterways that bring water into the city for fresh water for irrigation and planting. They also bred small domesticated dogs and used these and fish for sources of protein. We know they worshipped a few different gods, a rain god, a maize god, and the feathered serpent who will be known as Quetzalcoatl. They also developed a system of trade through Mesoamerica that would introduce a new elite class like we get all the time, right? It's unclear what happened to the Olmec after 400 BCE, but we know that they are the basis for the Mayan and Aztec civilizations. So they probably just dispersed amongst each other. Their main city is Teotihuacan. It is one of the largest population centers in pre-Columbian America. It was home to about more than 100,000 people at its height, which is in around about 500 CE. Teotihuacan is located about 30 miles northeast of modern Mexico City. And within this city, you see large-scale agriculture, which led to an abundance of food, which allowed people to have leisure time so they could develop special trade and skills and spend their time doing something other than farming. In this city, there's over 2,200 apartment compounds and more than 100 temples. Some of the big ones, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. We have uncovered graves at the Temple of the Feathered Serpent that suggest there were human sacrifices for religious purposes used here as well. Once the Olmec dissipate, we've got two new societies, the Maya and the Aztec. The Maya are at their height from 2000 BCE to 900 CE. They populate Mexico, Belize, Honduras, and Guatemala. Some things that the Mayans took from the Olmec: they perfected the language, the written language, that matters because not everybody has a written language. The written language and the calendar system that had originated with the Olmec. The Maya also created a written mathematical system that they used for crop recording. Just like the Olmec, they built temples. The Maya created city-states like Copan, Tikal, and Chichen Itza, and they built temples along their major trade routes, so you know you're with the Mayans. Unfortunately, poor soil and a multi-century drought leads to a decline in civilization as they abandon these large population centers and break off. We also have the Aztec, and according to legend, they were a warlike people, and they had come from a city called Aztlan and traveled south to the site of what is present-day Mexico City. Again, that's the legend of how they originated. We do know in 1325 they began construction of Tenochtitlan on an island in Lake Texcoco. You can see the picture of it over here. When Hernan Cortez arrives on the coast of Mexico in the 16th century, he arrives at the site of present-day Veracruz, and he has heard of a great city who's ruled by this emperor named Montezuma, and of course he has to go see it. And him and his men are hearing all of these rumors about it, which is important because by the time they arrive in 1519, Tenochtitlan contains upwards of 200,000 inhabitants and is the largest city in the Western Hemisphere. It is larger than anything Europe has. You can see it here in this picture. I know it doesn't look that big, but consider it's 1519 and they're building this on an island. So Tenochtitlan is well planned. As you can see, it is clean and it is orderly. The city has different neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are for each specific location. They have a trash collection system. They've got markets. They've got aqueducts bringing in fresh water. And they also have public buildings and temples. We know the Aztecs bathed daily, and wealthy homes might even contain a steam bath. You're not getting that in Europe. The labor force of enslaved people usually came from the subjugated members of the surrounding tribes, and these are the people who were put to work to build the city, and these three causeways that you can see here that connect it to the mainland. And so to farm, the Aztec construct barges made of reeds, and they fill them with fertile soil, and then they float them in the water. The lake water is constantly irrigated to these floating gardens to keep them running because if it's not fresh water, it's not going to work. But these floating gardens are still in use today, and you can still see them in